Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is your captain speaking, Fogbound Turtle, and today we are starting this brand new series of tutorial for the Aerosoft CRJ. Now, I'm part of the Microsoft Flight Simulator Discord. We do get a lot of people coming in and asking questions about the CRJ. Now, I am not a professional pilot. I am just a flight simmer guy, and that flies a little bit with the CRJ. So today's episode is going to actually be about flight planning. And now let me just bring Simbrief here. But flight planning is an important part of using the CRJ. It can make your life just a lot easier. So I'm going to bring you to a lot of the different tools that I'm using before I even get into the aircraft. One of them is basically this tool, which helps me generate a flight plan. So why is this important? Well, that's because the Microsoft included planner that people normally use is not connected to the aircraft. So if I do a plan using the Microsoft Flight Simulator Planner, none of the stuff I put in there is going to be in the FMS or the FMC of the aircraft. So you want to make a plan from Simbrief and then load it into the aircraft. We can also load it into the flight planner in Microsoft, and I'll show you that as well. So the first thing you know, you go to simbrief.com and you create an account. It's all free, and I'm going to start an airline. So that's the code for Air Canada, and it doesn't matter what the flight number is, but for this flight, we are going to go from this is Las Vegas, and let's say we're going to do to Salt Lake City. And what we're going to pick is here, we're going to make sure we pick the CRJ 550, and that will give us climb profile, descent profile, all of this information already inside Simbrief. So one thing you need to pay attention is it says based on the current weather that 26 right is the departure, and this is the arrival. Okay, so let's go. The first thing we're going to do here, it says route. So if we do open Route Finder and click on Find SIDS and Stars, it gives us a standard instrument departure of RAT PK1 RNAV, and it gives us a star that is QN RNAV. Now, one thing you'll notice with Simbrief after you use it for a while, it's not very good at giving you SIDS and stars for your flight plan. And so, as good as Simbrief is, it does have some little bit of things that it doesn't do very right. So I will not pick any of those. So my route is going to be this, okay? And according to this in here, this is how I'm going to arrive to Salt Lake City. Okay. I'm going to go here and I'm going to go around. So that is what we call. So you see here the name RAT PK. Oops, sorry. RAT PK. If I go up, that is our first waypoint, right? That is our SID coming out. And then if you go look in here, go look at the end. If we try to match, it's Quen 5 is our last waypoint in here. You see, we don't see it here, which is Quen. That's kind of what it is. Okay. So we don't need to change anything else in here. All we have to do is go completely to the top, generate OFP. So that's the flight plan. So that's the first step. And now it's going to give you a bunch of text, which if you're a newbie, reading this is extremely difficult. Like, this makes no sense to you. You don't understand any of it. So this is why I have this other tool. And let me bring this up here. I'm using what I call, this is SimToolKit Pro. So I say load latest from Simbrief. Here we go. Now I have my flight plan in here, and all I do is fly now. And now look at this. Now we have our runway information. We have a transition altitude. We have the information as well as where we're going. But what is the most important is if I click on taxi, now it's downloading the taxiway. So it's downloading the airport information from me. It may take a little bit of while. Let's let it load. Normally this works. While it's doing that, let me go in here. And this is some of this important information in here. So what is my zero fuel weight? How many passengers do I have? How much fuel do I need? What is my cost index? What is my cruise altitude? All of that information is right here. You don't need to look for what are the frequency for this airport and what is the MEDAR information. So that is the weather. So you kind of have to learn a little bit how to read, but basically there's no wind here. 0 degrees, 0 knot wind, 10 miles visibility right here. And altimeter, 3,000. All the information that we need. Is my taxi downloading? Apparently it is not. So now that we get all of this, time to bring up another tool. Now this is a paid tool. It's called the Navigraph Charts. And this is something that I use all the time. Now it's a paid subscription. I hesitate to bring this up, but this is something I use all the time. And again, I'm loading all of this from my Simbrief. And I want to show you something here. So now I'm going to go here. See, now I have my flight plan that I had here, right? And what is important here is if I go back in here and I click on this, and now I can look at, okay, this is my airport information. This is where all the gates are. This is the runways. This is where all the gates are. This is all the taxiways. And you're going to need this if you ever go on VATSIM, because let's say you spawn at gate C5 right here. That's 100% here. And somebody gives you instruction. Okay, you're going to taxi using Bravo 5, using, so that means this taxiway here, and then probably here and here. So you have all the instruction that you need. But also, I want to show you SIDs. Okay, so remember our SID was this one here. So that is RAT PK1. So that means that let me blow this up here. So this is the instruction that we have. So we're going to go this way. Then 336 headings degree. And then we have here a maximum of 230 knots at 5,000. Then here at 6,000. Then here at 7,000. Right? It gives you until we get out of here. And now it says you have two-way out. You can either go to Kitten or Frank. And that is the plan that we've seen on the Simbrief, right? It tells you, where do I go? Now, what's important is our stars to go to, well, here we're in Las Vegas. So now we need to go back to Salt Lake City. And I want to look at stars. And what you can do, you can actually look at, if you click on this here, it tells you all the arrival ways, basically, that I could use, right? And here it says I could use Quen 5, Jam 5. That's the one that I should be using. And again, if I come from a different ways, I could use Bear 5, Skis 5. So in this case, this is the one. Jam 5, Quen 5. But as you can see, if I zoom in, It doesn't bring you to the airport because we don't have an approach. So if we look at the approach, we have all of these. So what usually I do is I look at the approach and it tells me that, okay, I have different things that I could use. So this is runway 17. This is runway 34. So if I go back to my SimToolKit Pro, see, now it has loaded the airport. Let me go back to KSLC. It says I have to go on runway 17. All right, so runway 17. Okay, if we go here, runway ILS 17, I can come from OGD, T, Weber, and Final. So let's click on one of those. See, that would mean that we have to go here and back. So that's not the one we want. That one is from one coming on the other side. So again, wrong one. If we come from Weber, also on the other side. If we approach on Final, it goes directly to it, right? Now, if I look at the approach for runway 17, and I'm just going to click this overlay right here. See, my problem is if I go on Final, I'm on the exact opposite. So what I need to do is come here on the other side, right? So now I'm going to go back to this. So if I look at my flight plan now, it's going to be, I'm going here, I'm going to go around, come back here, and do this, right? So based on what I've seen here, OGD would be my approach. I could try Duke is, no, it's way too far. This one is also kind of, so I think this is the right one. We're going to go here, go back. Now, I want to show you this chart because it tells you very important information. One of them is this is an ILS approach. That means it's an instrument rated approach. And this is the frequency we need to dial in. And this is the approach course number, right? 169 degrees. It tells you what the glide slope is at. So 6,000 feet. This is important because if we go down here, it tells you as you approach, you should be at 11,000 feet when you're at Uduzu, 9,000 at Iwachi, 7,500 at Prius, 6,000 at Tifel. Then I catch the glide slope, which is helping me descend the aircraft. And it also tells you the height under which a miss approach. So if I have a miss approach, that I'm not lined up, something goes wrong, this is the last point where I can go and pull full throttle and get out of this, right? So that is at 4,419 feet. Okay. So we got all of our information. Okay. If I go back to SimToolKit Pro right here, let me show you again. This is what we have. Our plan is going to work perfectly. So now what do we do? Well, we want to bring this thing here. So this is a tool that comes with Simbrief. It's called a downloader. So what I do is I just click on refresh. And now I have my flight here, but I want to export it to a different folder. So in my case here, if I go to click here, this is HAP data, and then it goes into package Aerosoft, CRJ, and work. This is the default profile where all the flight plans are loaded in to the CRJ. And then I put a folder where I put my Flight Simulator 2020 format because I'm going to need this in order to load both the flight plan in Microsoft so that ETC can give me some level of direction and that I can load this into the FMS. All I do is click on export selected format, and there we go. And that's it. Now I'm ready to go into the plane. So I'm going to end the video here, and The next video is gonna be about cold and dark. We're gonna start the plane and we're gonna load the flight plan. Then we're gonna go in taxi and take off. All right, see you guys on the next video.